me out to the ball game. Take me out with the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jack. I don't care if I never get back.
These are the original legs for the All-American, and here the mounting holes are all stripped out. Screws weren't holding, the legs were very weak, so I'm going to, or I did here, plug these with dowel pins. So those are wooden dowels, and then they'll get all brand new holes in them, so it'll be good and sturdy. And also here I am re-gluing and clamping places that have come up in the veneer or the plywood peeling off the back. And where the leg fits in, let me show you this. So I got all the veneers coming off, every bit of veneer, excuse me, every bit of molding, and it's going to be redone. This particular molding, I'm going to remake this from scratch because see that little notch right there? That's not correct. That used to be where they put a coin slide in and they cut that out, notched it, and it needs a coin drop, not a coin slide. So that molding all has to be remade. But here I'm taking the cabinet completely down, clamping every little piece that happens to be split. So the whole cabinet's being gone through. I'm missing the little decorative moldings that go on the legs. So here's the pattern. I'm going to have to remake those. And what I was going to say was these legs, they go in here like this, but there were screws coming through, and that's what was going into the holes and holding it, and that's all that was holding these legs. And so what I'm going to do is, after this leg is in place, I'm going to take a 2x and put across here and screw it in and screw into the legs, so it's going to be captured in there with more support, and then put some cross bracing, some more 2x material in here, and just make this whole bottom a lot more sturdier and stiffer than it originally was manufactured as. Got the decorative scallops rough cut. Now I'm going to fine sand them next, smooth that up. And this is all mahogany. The case of the All-American's made out of mahogany. And this strip, someone had cut into this to put an actual coin slide as a coin entry instead of the coin drop. And so this profile you can't get, doesn't exist anyplace. It's got two little extra dips in it right down here at the bottom. There's one dip in and then another like half circle, and then it comes out here. It's been sanded before, so the detail's all gone out of it. But this profile you can't get anyplace. So with the rest of my mahogany board, I cut out these strips and I'm going to start to make brand new molding for it. Here is my new molding profile alongside the old original. The bottom of the cabinet has been shored up. I have made these brackets and new scrolls, got the original patterns for those, and I have leg levelers in here and some extra blocking, and then also put these blocks across so that when I come in with my dolly, I can come in from the front or back and pick it up, and it's got something there to rest on. We are spraying both an All-American baseball, got the pieces ready here, and also 1937 Rockola World Series. With a couple coats of Varathane on. Now I'm starting to look over the cabinet for any spots that needs touch up. And right down here I have two pieces of molding that come together and got a dark spot. So I'm going to try to take care of that. And that's going to be close enough. Here's all the men needing to be repainted. In cleaning up these men, getting them for repaint, what I've discovered is they are actually made of cast lead. This is solid lead, and I know that because of how easily I can cut it with an X-Acto knife. And more importantly, right down here, this one, when we cleaned it, it fell apart. It broke right here and here, the legs broke off, and I repaired that with solder. So I just took a soldering iron, and when I touched it, it melted right in like lead does. Filled it up with solder. I overfilled it and then shaved it down. This is all just shaving with an X-Acto knife. But interesting to know the original men were made of lead. On the All-American Baseball, this scorecard or player lineup printing was still in excellent condition, and I didn't want to sandblast it off, so I just took a piece of plexiglass and made that template, and that allowed me to sandblast all around without destroying the template. And so I still have a real good, that's original printing, that's not a decal. All the other pieces are sandblasted, mechanisms coming apart, just parts laying all over the place. Parts sandblasted and ready for primer. Brown is on the playfield, and I have an 1/8 inch thick aluminum plate that I've made the pattern for the outfield, and I am ready to spray green now.
I put my mask on so I can't breathe the stuff. Pour in the green.
Alright, ready to remove the stencil here and see what we got. And there's the outfield. I have the colors on the playfield, and I just got it back from the pinstriper, and so now what I'm doing is rubbing on these letters. Letter's been put in place, making sure it sticks down good. And here we go, peel it off. And there you have it, and out to climb.
Let me root for the home team. If they don't win, it's a shame. 'Cause it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game.
I just finished spraying the final coat on these, and I'm talking through my mask, so if you can't understand me, that's because I got this thing on. See? Pretty, huh? And so, there we go. All spraying done. Nice. place. And there you have it.
I'm done rebuilding this mechanism, and so what I'm doing is a dry run test on these umpire's arms. Make sure that when I push these levers they're working nice and smoothly, no binding or calling strikes and balls. This assembly has all been rebuilt, and then here the ball, as it rides up along this ledge or the surface, then it falls in here, and then this raises the ball up until it comes out of the umpire's chest and is delivered to the pitcher. Getting started on this assembly next, it's where the bat goes, and then this is what you push on the front of the cabinet, your handle, to swing the bat. Pieces apart and cleaned up, some repairs made, ready to go back together. It's all back together and ready for batter up. The main cam that everything works off of, everything's timed off of this cam. All the little indentations and grooves and this here cam and this whoop-de-doo right in here, the hole that lifts the balls up, everything has a purpose on this cam. And here it is, all cleaned up. Ready to go back on the game. Everything is cleaned up, some minor repairs made. Now I'm going to give the motor a quick test. Here are the rest of the pieces that have to go back together. Mostly all of this goes on this assembly. Next assembly is in place. And so we'll take a look at what this does. Here's where the bat handle hits to swing the bat. That's cocking the bat. Swing the bat. And this assembly is going on next. Has the umpire, the pitcher goes on here, and then the rest of this assembly helps bring the ball up into the umpire's chest. Down in here is the balls that are in a line waiting to be delivered, and as this cam rotates, you see the next ball drop in to the cam, and so that ball will be brought up, and when it gets to the very top, at that point is where it falls into right there to be delivered to the umpire's chest by this rod. And so this is pulled back at the time that the ball is dropped in, falls here, and then as this cam continues to rotate, it's this arm and this hole right here, that slot is where this bearing goes, and then that'll lift the ball up and it comes out the umpire's chest. Ball falls in and is brought up for the next assembly. There is an access door right here that you can remove or swing open so that you can see the ball as it comes from this cam and falls into this next assembly to be delivered up to the pitcher. Here comes the next ball. One more. There's supposed to be a piece of spring steel about 1.25 inches long, as wide as this green, and it's the gate to go between balls and strikes when you swing the bat. The piece of spring steel is broken off and gone, and this is brazed or tack welded onto the shaft, so I have no choice. I'm going to have to grind this off and then remake one from scratch. I'm going to make a holder out of brass that can grab onto the spring steel for the broken part. So right on my mill here I am putting a slot in the brass holder that I'm making. And now I will mill a chamfer with the click of a mouse. Power on. Here we go. Here's the finished piece with a new piece of spring steel, and I've soldered it in place in that slit. And then what I did here was I put 2 straight knurls on it, spaced apart, and so this just barely slips on, but it hits that knurl and stops. So this is going to be a press fit, and when I press it on it'll go right to here and stop. And all of that is to replace that. This is off another machine and it broke right across there. It's installed and ready to switch between balls and strikes. A few more parts have been put on, and when I drop a ball here, it's going to walk these 3 balls in, all for runs. The adjustment mechanically of these fingers and some weights that are in the back is kind of tricky in order to get these balls to walk exactly across evenly without bunching up or jamming. As I had shown in my previous video, any base hit or home run is going to pivot this plate. Pivoting that plate is attached to an arm here which comes along and pulls, comes around here, and when the plate gets pivoted, then I'm pushing down on this arm, and that does the advancement of how many hits you have, where as I pivot this down, in addition to manipulating that arm, this assembly is rocking up and down, and when it rocks downward it pushes on this lever, That's what's advancing the batter up. And then as you get runs, when the ball comes out of this viewing area and falls into this assembly, gets to the back and causes this to go down, this lever operates. That's contacting this, and when that goes down, that's what's incrementing your runs. This assembly goes on next, and with the assembly mounted in place, on this side is the balls. You get 4 balls to tip this, and you'll notice that on the left hand side, right down here, is where that 4th ball would go, down a separate channel than the other 3. So going down that separate channel brings it in the side trough of here and comes down to a base hit. So 4 balls, the 4th ball is a base hit. And when you get strikes, the 3rd strike will cause this to tip open, and notice that that 3rd ball has got its own channel that it's going to go down, where the other 2 balls are going this way. So they return to the main trough for storage, but the 3rd strike going this way will come around and come in here, and these are where your outs are kept. So 3rd out, we have all 3 go and fall down in, and when they go, they all go together, but this tipping is also pushing on a rod that comes right across here and pushes down on this, which then releases this rod, which is connected to that bottom tray, lets all of your men on base get dumped, and they go down here and back to the main trough for storage. The bat assembly with balls and strikes is in place. You can see that a ball rolling down here will be a strike. This is a ball, everything behind it. And when the ball gets around to this lever, as I push down on this, that is pushing below on that, going up and down, which goes over to this linkage and raises the umpire's arm. So that's for a strike, and the one in front here, pushing down on that, is a ball. So we can watch that happen. If I roll a strike, ump calls it, and then I'll throw a ball, ump calls it. Once I swing the bat here, this gate opens, and now everything is a strike. Now it's time to adjust this eccentric bushing or mount for the bearing. You want to have this bushing adjusted so that the pitcher has an even amount of throw on each side of the strike zone. So I'm in the deepest part of this oddly shaped cam right here, and with this adjusted, I'm pitching off to one side of the strike zone, and then 2 clicks later, or 2 pitches later, this is on the part of the cam which is thrown him fully off to in the other direction. So I try to adjust this to split that and throw balls on both sides of the strike zone. These games originally in the 20s and 30s did not have an electrical ground. They just had a 2-prong plug. But being that this whole thing is one big giant metal conductor, as I rewire them, I put in a grounded plug with antique lamp cord, correct for the period, but the ground comes in and ties inside this box, so the entire thing is grounded for safety. And this label shows the importance of making sure that the game is level in order for all the gravity feed of the balls to work. So I added this level that you can just open the front door and look inside and see where the bubble is. A little off right now, but it will be level when I put it in the game room. On the side of the cabinet is a nameplate with the serial number 1053, and that matches the number stamped into the frame. It's stamped here in the center and then also on the left hand side. The cabinet has a number stamped in it, 90 or 90. And that same number is stamped in both of the door panels. So there's a 90 stamped right there. And same spot on the upper door panel, 90. I'm doing a fit check of all the screw holes to make sure everything lines up and is tied together before I start tightening all the screws down, so everything's locked in place with no stresses on any parts. And this is a mylar disc that I've cut out. Going to apply that right there. And so when the ball's thrown, it hits right here, and there's a little indentation in the play field where this goes, and that helps protect the paint job. Clear mylar installed. On the 4 outfielders that move side to side, there's a couple pieces that need to go in here. This piece is about 1/8 of an inch thick, and so when you set it in here, it sits up a little bit higher than the play field. And then this piece is about 50 thousandths thick. That goes on top of it. And so now when the man, your outfielder, gets mounted on here, screws go through, pulls everything tight, what you have is this plate that will come and touch the play field and wear on it, but the rest of the green cup that catches the ball is slightly elevated off of the play field, so you won't be wearing and rub through the paint on the play field. You got just a little bit of a gap here due to this assembly. And there's the gap you can see. With the play field reassembled and mounted, it's time for a quick test. Good for a single. That was a triple. Oh! Double. Doing good so far. See if he throws balls and strikes like he's supposed to. So that was a ball. Oops, just straightened back out. That was a strike. See what the next one is. Yep, ball. So I have 2 balls, 1 strike. Here we go. Hey, that's good. That was a ball. Ooh, right down the center for a strike. There's a ball. Working on 2 balls now. Oops, and straighten back out through a strike. Okay. 3 strikes, went to an out, cleared the count. There's a strike. A ball. Let's see if he keeps throwing off to the side or if he straightens out. See that? You have to watch right before he pitches. Watch him straighten out now. Ah! Oh, and I missed it. But that was a strike anyways, because he had straightened out. Hey. Walking my men along, I got 5 runs, 6 hits. That was a strike. Ooh, got past him. Ooh, out, right to Vance, right to the pitcher. I got 2 outs, so 1 more. And that's a 3rd out. 3rd out, game over. This is the original backdrop or grandstands for the All-American Baseball. And it was in decent shape, but all the colors are faded. And there's a lot of damage up here, here, big hole here. So I've reproduced it, and now in my reproduction, this grandstands or backdrop is made on polystyrene, 60 thousandths of an inch, and then printed and laminated with a luster finish. I'll try to get in here close. You can see the edge. That's 60 thousandths white polystyrene. All of the damage has been repaired. All of the colors have been brightened up. And so these reproduction backdrops for both All-American Baseball and for World Series will be for sale on my website at GameRoomRepair.com. The nice thing about the polystyrene is that it is literally indestructible. It's not going to become brittle over time and crack or fall apart like the cardboard did. This is the coin gear out of the All-American Baseball. That is the original Mercury switch, and you can see currently that tipped forward, there's a gap right there. The Mercury is not touching, so it's not completing across the 2 contacts. So this is off currently. When a nickel is inserted in the coin chute, it goes down past the magnet, which would grab it if it was a slug or washer, and then as it's going down this trough or down this channel, there's a finger that's inside here that's kicked out, and that finger is at such a height that if you look at the size of a nickel, dime, and penny, the nickel is the largest, and so the nickel will just grab the tip of that finger lever will just grab that nickel and tilt it outwards and cause it to take an alternate path, which drops it on that paddle, which releases this lever and causes this to go up, and that will close the contacts. So here we go, inserting a nickel. Mercury contact is now closed. The ball from the third out will fall into this channel, which is right there, and it's attached to this rod and then this lever. So you can see that trough back there tilting. The third out ball is presented here, and as it rolls to the other side, the weight causes it to tip down, which raises this lever. And then it's the tip of this lever right here that will push on this lever, which is in the back side of the coin mech, and it's sitting under here lifting up, and lifting this upwards will push this back down and reset that Mercury switch. So I'll lift up, and then this locks in place and the contacts are open again. Game over. So the nickel is kicked out of the main trough and comes out over here to the paddle, but a dime and a penny are smaller diameter, and they'll squeak under that finger that would kick a nickel out, and so they'll take the main path, which goes down and past this paddle in a separate channel, does not trigger the paddle. So here's a dime, just went right past it to the left, and a penny, same thing. Only the nickel triggers the paddle. And here in the front, this is that main trough going and through a separate channel that's outside where the paddle is. When a nickel is inserted and this switch is activated, the mechanism also has a lever down here which pushes on this bronze casting, and it causes that casting to rotates this shaft, and that goes in and resets the counters for runs and hits. So we'll insert the nickel and watch that rotate. That little bit of movement was all it took to clear out the counters. Last thing to do on this machine is install a play counter that goes right here. It looks just like this, except these mounting ears are in the front, so that when it mounts in, it's sitting back in this recess. And then there's a rod that I'll have to make that goes from here down to that Mercury switch that I had showed you before. And when that assembly with that switch tilts, it pulls on the rod and then it increments the counter. So I got to get me another counter, and I'll set it to 0 and be ready to start playing this game. So there you have it. I was restoring both of these machines at the same time. This video is covered in some other YouTube videos, but this one's done, ready to go into my collection, and thank you very much for watching. Please get a hold of me through my website if you have any questions or comments or need your machine restored. Have a great day. For more information, visit GameRoomRepair.com.